summer of 479 BC, the hills of Plataea are thick with the dust of Persian cavalry and the clash of Greek shields. Mardonius, the Achaemenid commander, led 80,000 troops ready to take revenge on Greece. Facing him, 40,000 Greeks with bronze phalanxes stood poised to strike. The Battle of Plataea wasn't just a war, it was the moment that shaped the history of Iran and Greece. How did a defeat show the world the Achaemenids' power? Why does Mardonius's courage still live in Iranian hearts? This story is packed with mystery, bravery, and tactics that changed the world. Join us to uncover the untold secrets of Plataea. Five centuries before Christ, the Achaemenid Empire held the world at its feet. From the rivers of India to the shores of Egypt, no power could stand in its way. Xerxes, a young and ambitious king, took the throne in 486 BC. His goal was grand, not just to maintain the empire, but to expand it to distant lands. Greece, with its small but rebellious city-states, was a thorn in the Achaemenid side. Why? Because Athens and a few other cities had backed the Ionian Revolt in 499 BC, a rebellion in Persian territory. Darius, Xerxes' father, had sworn to punish Athens, but death stopped him. Now it was Xerxes' turn to take revenge and show the world the might of the Achaemenids. The Persian-Greek Wars began there. In 490 BC, Darius struck at Marathon. 100,000 Persian troops, with Median archers and Saka cavalry, faced 25,000 Athenians and Plataeans. But the Greeks, with their phalanx, an iron wall of shields and spears, caught the Persians off guard. The defeat at Marathon left a scar on the Achaemenids' pride. 10 years later, in 480 BC, Xerxes took the field himself. His massive army, perhaps 200,000 strong, crossed the Hellespont. They built a bridge over the water, a marvel still unmatched in history. At Thermopylae, 300 Spartans led by Leonidas blocked the way. Their courage became legend, but the Persians found a hidden path and outflanked them. Xerxes burned Athens to the ground, yet the Greeks refused to yield. That same year at Salamis, the Greek navy under Themistocles dealt a crushing blow. 1,200 Persian ships got trapped in narrow straits, and 370 Greek vessels smashed them. Xerxes grew weary and returned to Persia, but the war wasn't over. He left Mardonius, his loyal commander, in Greece with 80,000 troops. Mardonius, Darius's son-in-law and the army's mastermind, vowed to conquer Greece. He offered the Greeks peace, join the Achaemenid banner and live free. But Sparta and Athens refused. Now everything led to one great battle, a clash in the hills of Plataea, where the fate of Iran and Greece would be decided. Why did Plataea matter so much? Because the Achaemenids sought vengeance, and the Greeks, for the first time, had united to defend their homes. Athens was in ashes, but its spirit lived on. Sparta, always at odds with Athens, now stood by its side. Mardonius planned to use Plataea's open plains to unleash his Persian cavalry. But the Greeks chose the hills, where their phalanx could shine. This battle wasn't just a war, it was a contest between two civilizations, two armies, two ways of thinking. When Xerxes returned to Persia after the defeat at Salamis, one brave commander stayed in Greece to keep the Achaemenid banner high, Mardonius. This man wasn't just a general, he was the mastermind of the Persian army. Son of Gobryas, a Persian noble, and son-in-law to Darius the Great, Mardonius had been at Xerxes' side since youth. He crafted the plan to invade Greece. In 480 BC, when the vast Achaemenid army crossed the Hellespont, Mardonius led the charge. They lost at Salamis, but Xerxes trusted him and handed over the entire army in Greece. Now, in 479 BC, Mardonius stood in Plataea with one goal: to conquer Greece and avenge Athens. Mardonius wasn't only a warrior, he was a diplomat. Before the battle, he sent a message to Athens: "Make peace with the Achaemenids, stay free, and join our banner." He thought splitting Athens would break the Greek alliance. Athens refused. Mardonius didn't flinch. He had another plan. He chose the open plains of Plataea, perfect for Persian cavalry to charge and archers to strike from afar. He knew the Greeks were strong in the hills, but flat ground belonged to the Persians. He spread rumors that the Achaemenid army was invincible, hoping to crush the enemy's morale. This Persian commander had every detail calculated. What was his army? 80,000 troops, the empire's finest. The Immortals, 10,000 elite Persians, were the heart of this force. They wore light armor, armed with powerful bows and short swords called akinakes. The Persian cavalry, swift and deadly, could outmaneuver foes. Median archers rained arrows from a distance. Indian and Saka infantry with long spears held the line. Bactrians wielding battle axes struck fear into enemies. This army was a mosaic of nations, but Mardonius forged them into an iron fist. Mardonius's command tent was like a mobile palace. Persian carpets, golden decorations, and tables covered with maps. Every night, he met with his officers, refining tactics. He knew the Greeks had their phalanx, an iron wall that was hard to break. So he banked on the speed of his cavalry and the reach of his archers. He kept a special unit of 300 Immortals in reserve, a force that could turn the tide of battle. Mardonius didn't just think of war, he thought of victory. But one thing he couldn't predict: the unity of the Greeks. Athens and Sparta, longtime rivals, now stood side by side. In the summer of 479 BC, the Greeks found themselves in a strange position. Athens lay in ruins, but its spirit burned bright. Sparta, long at odds with Athens, now stood by its side. This alliance was something Mardonius never imagined. After their victory at Salamis, the Greeks realized that together they could stand against the Achaemenid Empire. All eyes turned to the hills of Plataea, where their fate would be sealed. Who led this unlikely unity? Two men from different worlds, Pausanias of Sparta and Aristides of Athens. Pausanias was a young Spartan, about 30 years old, nephew of Leonidas, the hero of Thermopylae. Spartans were famed for their discipline and courage, and Pausanias was their best. Before the battle, he prayed and sought omens. They say the signs were good, as if the gods were with him. Aristides, known as the Just, was Athens' mastermind. A statesman who rallied his troops with fiery speeches. He declared, "We fight for freedom, not for a Persian king." These two, who would never see eye to eye in normal times, shared one goal: to stop Mardonius from taking Plataea. What was their army? 40,000 soldiers, half the size of the Achaemenid force. 8,000 Spartans, 5,000 of them hoplites, full citizens clad in heavy armor. 8,000 Athenians, battle-hardened from Marathon and Salamis. The rest came from Corinth and smaller cities like Plataea. The heart of this army was the phalanx, an iron wall of bronze shields and long spears. Soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, wearing Corinthian helmets like a war machine. Light infantry with bows and javelins supported from behind. The Greeks knew the Persian cavalry was fast, so they wore heavy armor to withstand close combat. The Greeks chose Plataea's hills with care. The terrain was rugged, full of slopes and rocks, where Mardonius's cavalry couldn't charge freely. Near the hills was the Gargaphia spring, their water source. They knew if the water was cut off, they were doomed, so they stationed troops to guard it. Their plan was defensive: wait for the Persians to attack, then unleash the phalanx. Pausanias told his men, "Hold your discipline. If you break, it's over." Aristides prepared the Athenians, saying, "We'll rebuild our home from the ashes." Before the battle, the Spartans polished their armor to gleam in the sun, dazzling the Persians. The Athenians raised their blue banners high. A sense of unity swept through the camp. Even soldiers from smaller cities, unsure who to fight for yesterday, were now ready. But one city, Thebes, wavered. Some whispered they might make peace with Mardonius. This doubt hung like a shadow over the Greeks. August 479 BC, the hills of Plataea were choked with dust. 80,000 Achaemenid warriors with Persian cavalry and Median archers were poised to crush Greece. Facing them, 40,000 Greeks, entrenched with bronze phalanxes, held the hills. Mardonius, the Persian commander, knew this battle would be decisive. The Greeks, led by Pausanias and Aristides, were ready to defend their homes. The Battle of Plataea began, not with a grand charge, but with days of cat and mouse. Mardonius struck cleverly first. His cavalry blocked the Gargaphia spring, the Greeks' water source. The Greeks grew parched, their morale faltering. Persian archers peppered them from afar, staying out of reach. Mardonius aimed to lure the Greeks from the hills, where his cavalry could finish them. But Pausanias stood firm. "Hold your discipline," he told his men. "Let them come." The Greeks stayed put, their phalanxes an iron wall. Days dragged on, and Mardonius grew restless. He knew waiting might fracture Greek unity, but time was tight. The main battle, around August 12, changed everything. The Greeks staged a feigned retreat, as if fleeing. Mardonius thought his moment had come. On his white horse, clad in shining armor, he led his army forward. The Persian cavalry charged like thunder, but the rugged terrain betrayed them. Horses stumbled, and the Spartan phalanx with bronze shields held the line. Median archers shot volleys, but the Greeks' heavy armor deflected most. Aristides, with the Athenians, struck the left flank, pushing back Indian infantry. Mardonius threw himself into the fray. With 300 immortals, the Achaemenids' elite guard, he hit the Spartan center. These 300 fought like a storm, their Echinike swords spilling blood. But the Spartans, with iron resolve, didn't budge. In that moment, the battle's fate was sealed. A Spartan, not with a sword, but with a rock, knocked Mardonius from his horse. The Persian commander fell, dead. His death shattered the Achaemenid army. Without a leader, the unity of Persians, Medians, Persians, and Sakas crumbled. The Greeks seized the moment. Pausanias pushed the phalanx forward, an iron wave crushing all before it. The Athenians smashed the Persian right flank. Bactrians, wielding battle axes, fought to the last, but the retreat began. The Greeks stormed the Persian camp, looting Mardonius' golden tent, brimming with Persian carpets and treasures. Around 50,000 Achaemenid soldiers fell, the rest fled. The battle ended, but the story didn't. Why did the Persians lose? Mardonius' tactics were sharp: cavalry for mobility, archers for distant strikes, and cutting off water for pressure. But Plataea's rugged terrain favored the Greeks. Cavalry got trapped, archers couldn't pierce the phalanx. The Greeks had tactics too: a heavy phalanx like a moving fortress, and a feigned retreat that fooled Mardonius. Spartan discipline and Athenian courage clinched it. The biggest blow was Mardonius's death. Without him, the Achaemenids' multinational army was a ship without a captain. This wasn't just a Greek triumph. The courage of the 300 immortals and Mardonius' leadership showed the Achaemenids were mighty even in defeat.